Hello, welcome to part two. What are the chances of Peter making it to Rome? So we see in the book of Romans, Paul, who wrote it, he's in the very first chapter. Now he's writing to the all in Rome, beloved God, called to be saints. Okay, so he's writing to the believers that are already there, and then verse 13. Now I would not have you ignorant, brethren. Now 99% of the time, Paul uses brother. I noticed that he's referring to the Jews that oftentimes have a purpose to come unto you, but was let hitherto, that might have some fruit among you also, even amongst other Gentiles. So anyway, yeah. So reading the book of Romans, it's clear that he's mostly cognitively focused on the Jews who came to Christ in Rome, and knowing the Jews that Acts chapter 2, where you had at verse 5, where he had Jews from every nation that came during Pentecost. And so they would have heard the gospel there, and they already did actually the year of Jesus' crucifixion. So, and it's an annual thing. So they were hearing the gospel. But what's interesting here, where okay, making requests, if I mean now at length, I might have a prophet journey by the will of God to come unto you. Now, if the apostles are already there, why he wouldn't make this statement then, if they had already been there. Okay, now keep in mind, Matthew 10:23, but when they persecute you, now Jesus talking to the original 12, Judas replaced by Matthias, flee in the city, flee unto another, for a better city you should not have gone over the city of Israel till the Son of Man come. So they were on that mission all the way until the Son of Man comes. So the sign occurred in the sky May 2nd of AD 66. So that would have been when the mission ended. That the year the Roman Jewish War started and lasted for 7 years, from AD 66 to AD 73. It went all the way into the Masada, construction of the temple. Okay, so that was their mission. All right, and so anyway, so this verse here suggests that the apostle had not been there. The very next verse, verse 11, for I long to see you, that I may impart unto you some spiritual gifts, to the end ye may be established. Again, it suggests the apostle had not been there. All right, that I may be comforted together with you by the mutual faith, both of you and me. Me, okay, not the apostles, the other apostle, but me. Which again suggests the other apostle has not been there. Now I would not have gone, have you ignorant, brethren, that times I purpose to come unto you, but hitherto that I might have some fruit among you, amongst the Gentiles. So he was hitherto. So what was that all about? If we go to Romans 15, chapter 15, verse 19, through mighty signs and wonders by the power of the Spirit of God, so that from Jerusalem around unto Illyricum I have fully preached the gospel of Christ. But it is by the power of God that God had Paul, going from Jerusalem all the way out to these places. Okay, that's why he was hindered from going to Rome. Okay, alrighty, right here, because God had him going to all these places, but Paul himself wanted to go there because he knows that it had not been established yet by any of the apostles, as you can see. Okay? And so obviously, Paul went to Jerusalem every now and then. He would have conversations and whereabouts where people had gone. As I've already pointed out in the previous video, Paul pointed out, he stated in Colossians chapter 1, verse 20, the gospel had been preached to every creature under heaven, which suggests he had been having conversations with the rest of the apostles, where the place they had gone, and I'm sure other Jews as well, that they're being enlightened of Gentiles too. So, anyway, Yeah. So which cause I have been much hindered from coming to you, because he had been busy. The Lord had been busy going to all these other places, and so he had great desire these many years to come unto them. Okay, now if Peter had been there, he wouldn't have that desire. Peter had already, and the other the remaining original apostles, he would not have that desire. So anyway, but the Lord had plans for him. Why? Okay, the last 2 years of life, he was basically in Rome. He was chained to a guardian. Okay, where was it here? Anyway, beginning of Acts 28, he's chained with the guard. So anyway, so he's there for 2 years, preaching the kingdom of God and teaching all those things concerning the Lord Jesus Christ, all confidence, no man forbidding him. Okay, so yeah, so as you can see, the Jews had already been hearing the gospel. Ooh, sorry about that. Had already been hearing the gospel by the time he wrote Romans, and again, they were being a light in the Gentiles. And Paul himself was also speaking to the gospel to the Gentiles while he was in prison. Okay, but the Jews in general were not very good about going to the Gentiles, and it's partly because, according to law, it's the way the law. Oh boy, I wish I had the verse in hand here, but it's if Gentiles came to them, they would receive them, but they were not so much to go out. But that wasn't until Acts chapter 10, where we see that the Gentiles were being made clean. So that would prevent them from violating the law. But prior to that, they had that mindset not to go out to the Gentiles. And Jesus even told them during his ministry, don't go out to the Gentiles. Okay, it wasn't until Acts chapter 10 occurred, I believe, September the year 33, where finally it's going out free to go to the Gentiles. But prior to that, there are conversations like Matthew 28, where Jesus said, go to all the nations. He was referring to all the nations. Remember, Acts 2:5, there are Jews in every nation. Okay? That's what they had in mind, the Jews in every nation. They were not thinking along Gentiles. And if you read Acts 10 carefully, you'll see why. Like Peter said, it's unlawful for me to go out. And so, but that all changed as of Acts 10. So anyway, yeah. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Yeah, so this suggests that they were not established by any apostles at this point. That the Jews had been hearing the gospel in Jerusalem during Pentecost, during their feasts. And so by the time Paul wrote this, they had to have anywhere from 28 to 33 Pentecosts by that point. See, I believe the book of Romans written around AD 63. Jesus died in the year 30, so that would have been 23 years. 23 years of Pentecost. Or I'm sorry, 33 years. Sorry, 33 years of Pentecost. So so it's not all surprising by the time Paul wrote. Now, if you want to believe AD 58, like some people do, then that just means 28 years. Still, a lot of time, a long time. So that explains why they would have heard the gospel at this point. Okay, it's been spread, and so anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a nice rest of the day.